Lesson 4.2, making reasonable estimates for products. The main focus in this lesson is for you to consider amounts of foods that you would eat in 1 week, for you to estimate how much of a certain food they ate in a year, and then review the data about the average food consumption. And finally, to estimate products of large numbers and calculate and then assess the reasonableness of the answers. But as with every other lesson, let's start with our mental math and fluency. It says, name the next 5 multiples of a given number. Notice that a lot of our mental math and fluency have to do with factors and multiples. So you need to make sure you are studying your multiplication facts every night, because almost every lesson is going to have you looking at multiples or factors. The number 5. Name the next 5 multiples of the given number. Notice we're not looking at factor pairs. If it says name the next 5 multiples of this number, this is the first answer for the number 5, meaning 1 times 5 is 5. So now the next 5 multiples are the answer to 2 times 5, 3 times 5, 4 times 5, 5 times 5, and 6 times 5. Again, you need to know your multiplication facts in order to come up with these answers quickly. So you should be thinking 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. Let's look at the next one. The next 5 multiples of the given number 3. Well, 3 is my first answer. So 3 times 1 is 3. What's 3 times 2? 6. 3 times 3, 9. 3 times 4, 12. 3 times 5, 15. And 3 times 6, 18. If you could not do them as quickly as I just did them, you need to be studying them more at night. Please make sure to be taking those multiplication fact triangles home so that you know what you're doing. For this next part, you are going to need to get Math Masters page 147 out of the file. Please go over there and do that now. I'm going to read this aloud to you as you follow along. If you don't have this paper, you better pause the recording and go grab it. How many eggs did you eat in the last 7 days? Now for me, that'd be quite a few eggs. I would eat on average an egg a day. So how many eggs would I eat in the last 7 days? My answer would be 7. Record your answer on your sheet. How many cups of milk did you drink in the last 7 days? Well, I drink 2 glasses of milk a day, so 2 times 7 is 14. Figure out how many cups of milk you drink and write your answer on your sheet. How many cups of yogurt did you eat in the last 7 days? Well, I normally eat a container of yogurt a day, but I'm not always perfect at doing that. So I'm going to say on average, I probably average 4 cups of yogurt in 7 days. You do yours on your sheet. All right, let's take a look at this. Does any of this information about yourself or me surprise you? It doesn't really me. I guess it's funny to think that I eat a dozen eggs in 2 weeks. So that is kind of funny when I look at it, but everything else seems pretty average to me. Do you think that any of this information has changed since we collected it? For me, the only thing that changes some days, I make sure I drink a glass of milk every day for breakfast, but sometimes I forget it for supper, and I definitely forget it at lunch. So I might have one day only 1 cup, and then the next day I might actually have 3. So I still agree with my information. See, the eating habits of all of us change over time, and some of this information that we collect might not always be current. So we have to remember that. You already should have completed problems 1 through 3 along with myself. And now we're going to move on to the next part. If you turn to the student reference book, page 286, it's giving you what Americans eat on average per day. And then it says most of the results show that Americans eat or drink about the following average amounts of these foods in a year. So looking at that information in your student reference book, page 286, and if you don't have it open yet, pause the recording and make sure that you're there. It says that about how many pounds of bananas might the students in our class eat in a year? Well, if each American eats an average of about 25 pounds of bananas per year, rounding that up would be about 30 pounds per year. Well, we have about 20 students in our class, so there would be 20 times 30. Wow, that would be a whopping 600 pounds of bananas a year. How about how many eggs an average American family eats in a year? Look at your student's reference book page. You should notice that it says each person eats an average of 249. Well, that rounds up to about, let's make it easy, 300. And let's say the average family has 5 people in it. So 300 times 5 would be 1,500. Whoa, that is a lot of eggs. About how many cups of milk might all the 4th grade students in our school drink in a year? Well, remember, you got to look at how many an average person drinks, and it says 362. So then you'd multiply that by approximately 200 students. Wow, figure out that answer. Pause the recording and then bring it up to me on a Post-it note so I know that you figured it out for this problem. So making estimates for multiple step problems. It says on Math Journal page 108, it reads, write an estimate and show your thinking. Use a calculator to solve the problem. Check that your answer is reasonable based on your estimate. Math Journal page 108 is an assessment piece, but I'm going to walk through the first one for you so that you know how to do it. And then the next one, when you complete that page, I want you to bring it up to me. So a housefly beats its wings about 190 times per second. A wasp can beat its wings about 400 times per second. About how many more times does a wasp beat its wings in 1 minute compared to that housefly? Well, let's take a look at that. A housefly beats its wings about 190 times per second. Wow. I'm going to have to take 60, because that's how many seconds are in a minute, times 190 would round to 200, and I would come up with, let's take a look at this using the shortcut strategy I showed you. 6 times 2 is 12. And then how many zeros do I need? 1, 2, 3. So I would put 3 zeros in my answer. So that's approximately 12,000. Now I need to do the second part of that problem. And it says that they beat about 400 times per second. Well, we want to know again how many in a minute. So I take 400 times 60. So I take 4 times 6 is 24. And then I have 1, 2, 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. And I put my comma in the correct place. 3 place values in. All right. So how many times as many is it? Well, if we take a look at this, the information is telling us, 1 second please. Sorry, I had someone walk in. So now I got to figure out my real answer. For that, I need to take 60 times 190. And again, remember, you can use your calculator for this. And please do, because you will be required to do this at different times without me showing you the work here. 0 times 0 is 0. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 9 is 54. Carry the 5. And 6 times 1 is 6, plus 5 is 114. I had 12,000 here. I got 11,400. That's pretty close. And for the next one, I need to take 400 times the 60, which is 2,400. I'm sorry, 24,000. I got a little flustered here with all the interruptions I've been having. So 24,000 minus the 11,400, you should come up with an answer of 12,600. Sorry, that's going off on me. Times. So your answer should have been 12,600 was my exact answer. Does that make sense? Yeah, that makes sense. How do I know? Because even though they're off slightly, they're still fairly close. My answer, 12,000 minus 24 minus 12,000 is 12,000. So my estimate difference was 12,000. My exact answer difference is 12,600. That's pretty close considering how large my number is. So that works. What you need to do now is finish number 2 and number 3 on your own. Bring it up to me so that I know you understand what you're doing. Again, this is an assessment check, and then you can continue on with recording. So pause it now and do page 108 in your math journal. That's what the page should have looked like. This is the answer that we just did together. And now we're moving on to real life questions in which you might need to estimate. Well, if you were at a football game and your mom said approximately how many people were there, you'd have to look at about how many people were on each bleacher and then count the bleachers up, round them to 20 or 30, whichever is closest, and then multiply them together. That would be another reason why you do estimates in real life. I estimate all the time when I go to the grocery store if I only have a certain amount of cash, because I want to make sure when I get up there that I have exactly the right amount so that I'm not short. So those are just 2 simple answers of why we need to estimate in real life. This next problem that you see is on Math Journal, page 109. It's just having you stop and think about practicing multiple digit addition and subtraction. So we'll do this first one together, and then I'm going to have you do the rest by yourself. What is 9 plus 7? And please don't use a calculator for this. Please do it your own. Well, 9 plus 7 is 16, and I'm going to carry the 1. 8 plus 6 is 14, plus 1 more is 15, so I know I did that right, and I carry a 1 again. I always start with the largest number. 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 7 is 17. I need to carry the 1 again. 6 and 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13, carry a 1, and 9. Please finish Math Journal, page 109. Bring it up to me to make sure that you did it correctly, and I'll correct it. And then the last thing you need to do for this lesson is Math Journal, page 110. and Math Masters, page 149.